have started filming this video several times today, and so far I have ripped my pants and the yard guys have showed up. So hopefully, third time's a charm. We'll see how it goes, but anyway. Hi! Oh no, this is gonna be terrible. I haven't made a YouTube video since I was like 16 years old, so this is gonna be real awkward, but I was watching a lot of the mid-year book freakout videos and I thought it seemed like a fun thing to do, so here goes. All right, so let's start with stats. I'm currently at 70 books for the year right now. My goal is 100, so I'm actually kind of focusing on slowing down a little bit because I'm currently kind of in a quantity over quality era. I kind of treat Kindle Unlimited like it's Wattpad, and I've had a lot of pretty disappointing reads so far as a result. So I'm focusing on trying to read things with more intention as opposed to just trying to overconsume. So the first question is the best book that you've read so far this year, and I think I have two that kind of tie that aren't answers to other questions. I think I've had about five-star reads this year, but my first one was The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I read this one in January. I know I'm a little bit late to the party. She's been around for a minute, but I didn't start reading again until like last May, so I have a lot to catch up on. But this was beautiful. It made me cry at work. I was kind of disappointed with the ending because I like a happy ending, but it was something that still sticks with me, and I think about it just randomly throughout the day. And I'm gonna shut up now. All right, so in this book we follow Addie, and she kind of makes a deal with a devil-like character for basically eternal life. But there's a catch, and nobody ever remembers her, and it kind of follows her throughout her life. And then she meets someone who does remember her, and they form like a little romantic connection, and it's so sweet and so tender and lovely. Yeah, 5 stars. Delightful. The next favorite read I wanted to talk about was A Far Wilder Magic by Allison Saft. This one follows Margaret and Weston as they go on this hunt for this mythical fox-like creature, and there's a lot of religious prejudices that they both face, and Margaret's got a lot of family trauma and things like that going on, and they just form like this beautiful little partnership, and it's just a very cute little love story, and I really, really enjoyed this one. All right, the next question is what your favorite sequel is so far that you've read this year. And again, I have 2. So my first one is Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands. I liked the first one, but I loved the second one. Emily and Wendell are so cute and their dynamic is so fun. And in this one, I think you get a lot more of it. In the first one, Emily's kind of a little bit more standoffish, and in this one I think that their relationship dynamic really shines, and also I really liked kind of the quest vibe of this one. And then also I really, really loved The Prisoner's Throne by Holly Black. This is the sequel to the spin-off series for The Cruel Prince, and The Cruel Prince is like my absolute Roman Empire series. I love it. No notes. You cannot fight me on it. It is my favorite of all time. And honestly, with the first one, what was that one called? The Stolen Heir. I did like it, but there was something about following Oak as an adult after you had kind of been with that character as a child that like wasn't completely vibing with me, but I did totally change my mind with this one. I feel like it's so well done, and it is such a good addition to that universe, and you do get a lot more Cardan and Jude in this one, which is also nice. So all right, next up we have a new release that you haven't read but you want to, and for me that's probably gonna be The God of the Woods. This is the latest book I've bought, and it's actually kind of out of my typical realm. I believe it's a thriller, but the synopsis seemed pretty cool. It's about a teenager that goes missing from a summer camp in like the 70s, and I believe her parents own the summer camp, and there's also like some history of other people going missing in the family or something, and it just seemed like an interesting vibe. So I think this is probably the next thing on my TBR, and hopefully I'll get to it soon. Okay, next is most anticipated read, and no, yeah, most anticipated read. So this is books that I do not currently have in my hands, but I'm very excited for them to come out. I think actually both of them are coming out next month, so within the next couple weeks, and I'm very excited. The first is Lady Macbeth by Ava Reed. I've enjoyed every single book that I've read by Ava Reed, so it really doesn't matter what it's about. If they write it, I'm gonna pick it up. I know that it's supposed to be kind of a Shakespeare retelling, which is interesting. I like those sometimes. So I'm really hoping that that is a good one. And then also the sequel to Assistant to the Villain. I actually really enjoyed Assistant to the Villain. I found the writing like a little bit cheesy at times, but it had just enough of like that like Princess Bride self-aware quality to it that I did really enjoy it, and I'm excited to see where the story goes. So I'm very excited to get my hands on that one. Next question is biggest disappointment, and I have two, but one is monumentally bigger than the other, and that is unfortunately gonna be Crescent City 3, House of Flame and Shadow. I honestly couldn't tell you why I was as excited for this book as I was, because I'm honestly not a Crescent City girly. The second book, other than this one, is probably my least favorite book that I've read by Sarah J Maas, and I really only went into this one for kind of the universe crossover elements, if you know, you know. And I honestly think that those were handled super poorly. I think it made me dislike characters more than I would like to dislike them, and I think honestly the entire book was just character assassination for every single person in this book. So so sorry, but not my fave. And then I don't have the other one anymore because I already took it to Goodwill, but it was An Education in Malice by is it S.T. Gibson? Yes, S.T. Gibson. So I super love A Dowry of Blood. It's not completely a 5-star for me, but it's like a 4.5, 4.75, like pretty up there. So I was really excited for An Education in Malice and to have kind of that crossover, some vampires, but I feel like some of the themes of that book were not handled in a way that I super loved. I feel like there were some toxic relationship aspects that were kind of brushed over and not handled in a way that really sat well with me. So I didn't really love that one either. I'm so sorry. Okay, now that I'm done being an absolute hater, we can get on to biggest surprise, which for me was Bride by Ali Hazelwood. I am not typically a contemporary romance girly. I read them sometimes when I'm doing like a palate cleanser after like a really heavy fantasy series, just so that I can like wash my brain. But typically they're not my go-to. I picked this one up because I was kind of in the middle of the From Blood and Ash series, and I was like kind of slogging through and I wasn't loving it, and I just needed something quick and easy and fun to remind me why I love reading, and this did all of those things. I was obsessed. I read it in a 24-hour period. I think I stayed up until like 3 o'clock in the morning. I could not put it down. Not only was the romance so exactly what I'm looking for in a romance, but also kind of like the mystery element and all of the kind of paranormal things about this were really great. I know a lot of people are weird about the anatomical aspects of the smuttier scenes in this, and that was like a bit odd, but I can look past it because this was so good. Also, it put me into an Ali Hazelwood like super spiral from which I fear I will never recover. I have to read everything now, all of it. So there's that. That does bring me to the next question, which is new favorite author, and it is Miss Ali Hazelwood. She has a way of writing a man that is just so down bad, but also like 6'5", that I really appreciate. So Next, we've got books that made you cry. Obviously, we already talked about The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. This put me into like an existential crisis for a good month, and I did absolutely cry in the break room at work when I finished it. Yeah, I mean, 5 stars, but I wanted to throw it across the room for sure. And then I have Powerful by Lauren Roberts. This is the little novella that goes with Powerless. What is the character's name? I keep wanting to call her Andarna, but it's Adina. This is the story of Adina during the course of Powerless, and the ending is like, you already know what's coming if you read Powerless, but for some reason in my brain, it still really hit, and it was a tearjerker. Then I have The Warm Hands of Ghosts by Catherine Arden. This is like a World War I story, and I think it's got like some surreal elements to it too, but there's also just like a very tender queer romance at the heart of it. And anything that's like historical, oppressive queer romance is just always gonna get me. So this one, I cried almost the entire book, even when it wasn't sad, because it just, the vibe made me want to cry. So there's that. And then the last one is something that I read on Kindle Unlimited, so I don't have a physical copy, but it was called Notes on an Execution, and it was about like a serial killer and the women whose lives he had impacted. And it was just like one of those things that really made you like step back and think about just like the prison system and psychology and all of the ways that we characterize like people who commit crimes versus the people they commit them against, and who should really be represented in the media. And anyway, the writing was beautiful, and especially during the chapters that were about the serial killer's mother. As a mother myself, I just was absolutely devastated the whole time. It's a beautiful read. I do recommend it, but it was definitely a tearjerker. All right, now let's talk books that made me happy. First one is going to be Powerless by Lauren Roberts. I know this one is hit or miss for a lot of people, but I found the banter between the characters to be delightful, and it just scratched my brain the exact right way. So this is a favorite, even though I am aware of its faults and do agree with a lot of points that people make about it. I still really enjoy it. And then I have, obviously, Allie Hazelwood. Adore her, makes me happy, can't wait to read the rest of them. I did read her newest one, Not in Love. I wouldn't classify that one as happy, so I didn't put it on this list, but I still did really like it. It just wasn't like a happy, kick your feet type of romance. And then last of all, the Emily Wilde series, both books delightful, so just cozy and cute, with just enough adventure to like keep you entertained, but at the heart of it, it's just like a good feeling book. So those are my happies. Okay, next question is favorite book to movie adaptation, but I don't have one because I don't watch a lot of movies, but I did recently watch the entirety of My Lady Jane in one sitting, and I do know that that is a book. I haven't read it, but that whole series is super delightful, and I highly recommend. It's basically like Ella Enchanted with Animorphs, so like what could go wrong, honestly. Okay, for my most beautiful book that I've purchased this year, I have kind of a lot because I've recently gotten really into buying special editions off of Pango. It's an addiction at this point, it's awful. But I just got this one recently, and it's the collector's edition of the Wilderwood duology by Hannah Witten, which is one of my favorite series. It's, I think, the second series I read when I first really got back into reading. So it's got like a really special place in my heart. But these editions are so, so pretty. Like, oh, look at her. Stunned, obsessed. Just, I love them so much. All right, last but not least, a book you feel the need to finish by the end of the year. For me, that's going to be Cassandra Clare, Swordcatcher. I got this in a gift exchange around Christmas from a friend, and I'm very excited to read it. I really don't know why I haven't gotten to it yet. Everybody says such good things. I haven't ever actually read a book by Cassandra Clare. I know she's kind of a beloved YA author, but kind of when she was popular, I was like in my deep pick me, not allowing myself to enjoy things phase. So I'm very excited to give her a try. I just haven't gotten around to it yet, and I do really want to. So hopefully I will get myself to do that soon. All right, that's all for now. If you've made it this far, thanks for sticking around, and I hope to see you again maybe sometime. All right, thank you. Bye.